Well, good evening, everyone. Council. I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021 regular meeting of Council to order. First item of business under item 2.1 is adoption of this evening's agenda. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, any additions? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. 3.1, adoption of the previous minutes being March 19, 2021. Councillor MacLean, Councillor G, any errors or omissions arising? Hearing none, all in favor? It's carried. Correspondence for action from under 6.1 from the BC Association Farmers Market, support for Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program. There is a recommendation here that a letter be sent from Council to the Honourable Adrian Dix, Minister of Health, expressing support for the BC Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program in Valemount. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion? Councillor G.
Just a comment that I've been watching this program for the last couple of years, and it's very well received and well needed. It's unfortunate that a lot of low-income people need support to get fresh food, so I hope that they keep increasing the amount each year.
And hopefully with other municipalities following suit, we can garner some support in Victoria. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Anything under the reading file Council would like to bring forward? Councillor MacLean?
The town of Valemount support for a 988 crisis line. I thought that was good, but what it's about is supporting a 3-digit number for those in crisis, so you don't have to remember the longer number. I thought it was a good idea. I move that we support them.
Seconder, Councillor Blanchette. Discussion on the motion? All in favor? It's carried. Anything else, Council? No one's going to answer the call for nominations for the AKBLG executive? Administrative reports. 8.1, accounts payable for January and February 2021. Councillor Blanchette, that the report be received. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, discussion. I'll just highlight that there is an accounts payable point in there for Spiral Contracting, company that I work for. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8.2, VCF and VIP being Valemount Community Forest and Valemount Industrial Park Limited Partnerships expenses. That expenses related to those two corporations, limited partnerships, are to be agreed upon in writing by the VCFLP and VIPLP manager and the village CAO prior to being incurred. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8.3, sole sourcing of Centennial Park washrooms. And this is a big one. We don't normally even consider sole sourcing. And the recommendation here that staff be authorized to sole source the procurement of automated self-cleaning washrooms to RecTech Industries of Delta, BC. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, any discussion? Councillor Blanchette.
I just want to mention the reason why we are putting this through as sole sourcing is because it's a one-of company that does this. There isn't another company out there that does this specialty, so that's why.
Further discussion? Thank you, Councillor. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. 8.5, we have a land disposition for 1451 Fifth Avenue, and the recommendation here that staff proceed with public notification for the disposition of land at 1451 Fifth Avenue and the provision of assistance to BC Housing in the form of land disposition below market value. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Blanchette. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Bylaws and policies, 9.1, Village of Valemount Wood Stove Regulation Bylaw, number 838, 2021, be given third reading as amended. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, discussion. Councillor Blanchette.
So I just wanted to reiterate a few points that were noted in here. So item 5.1, it says a person will not use a wood-burning appliance at any time when the air quality advisory is in effect, except to heat premises that are equipped with no heating source other than wood burning. We're not expecting people are going to have to turn off their heat. Obviously, if you heat with wood and that's your source, then that's what you'll continue to do. The other item I wanted to bring up is that the penalty is up to $50,000 upon a conviction. And I want to remind people that we're asking them to do these things. We're not demanding it. We're asking them to work with the village to make the air we all breathe better. And if somebody's not in compliance, and if somebody has, been asked to do these things and they continue not to, and they continue to put the residents at harm's way, then we'll have to look at these offenses and penalties. But only then, we want to ensure that all of the community members are healthy and happy and working with us on these bylaws that we set.
Good points. Further discussion? Councillor MacLean?
I may have missed it, but I wondered where it said how people could check if there was an advisory on before they lit the fire in the morning. Where will that be publicized? Have we addressed that?
That I don't know, Mr. Administrator.
I do not believe that is in the actual bylaw itself. However, it will be communicated quite regularly to the public. We could actually put a link on our website to the BC air forecast or venting index.
And I'm certain that's something VCTV would love to help us out with through the Daily Scroll. I have a few questions and comments if you were concluded. Under definitions, wood burning appliance installed on any premises. Would this include wood-fired ovens housed in restaurants or smoker-style cooking systems in a commercial business? Are we, Mr. Administrator?
My understanding is no, it should not, because the intent of the bylaw is to deal with wood-burning stoves that are for domestic heating. However, if that is something that is of concern, we could certainly amend the definition to ensure that it doesn't include things like that.
I would entertain an amendment like that. Councillor Blanchette, seconder. Councillor MacLean, discussion. I only bring it up because there's a few businesses in town that rely on wood-fired ovens, and another business or another couple of businesses coming that will be reliant heavily on smoker-style cookware. And as you probably can see, when the wood-fired stove at Glacier Fire Pizzeria starts up, there's a whiff, and then that thing's burning at 1,000 Fahrenheit. And the draft on that thing that's going in is bigger than this desk. There's no choking that thing down. I just wanted to make that certain that we wouldn't be asking them to not be in business during an air quality advisory. And then I wanted to just raise it to council that we have applied for a community-wide geothermal energy system, and we're just waiting on a funding announcement, hopefully towards the end of 2021, preferably before, but that's probably the timeline. Just throwing it out there to council that for when we start looking at maximum fines and coldest days of the year, there will be people burning. There's no, even with a smaller furnace or a secondary heating appliance, there will be people burning. And They will be doing it to keep water lines from freezing, especially during those, what could be frequent power outages, because we are at the end of a BC Hydro extension cord. So just wanting to raise that point. But any further discussion on the amendment, which doesn't include an extension cord nor coldest days of the year? All in favor of the amendment? Carried. Back to the original motion as amended. Further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Under 9.2, Village of Valemount Council Procedure Bylaw number 834-2020, Amendment Bylaw number 840-2021 be given third reading. Councillor G, Councillor MacLean, any discussion on third reading? All in favor? It's carried. 9.3, Village of Valemount, 5-year financial bylaw, plan bylaw number 841-2021 be given first and second reading. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, any discussion, question? We do have the Director of Finance on Zoom. If you have any questions arising from the numerous zeros, ones, and twos contained in that report. If there's something that caught your eye or something that you need to search out, we can take a moment. As you're perusing, I will highlight that it looks like the Finance Department has increased granting opportunities from $20,000 to $30,000 in case of those little things that come towards us that we can leverage funding towards. It's good to have that into the budget. If there are no questions for the Finance Department or discussion, call the question. You can always raise it at third reading as well. All in favor? It's carried. 9.4, Village of Valemount Policy Number 81, Appointments to the Board of Directors of Village-Owned Companies. There are a couple of recommendations here. Number one, that Policy Number 81, Appointments to the Board of Directors of Village-Owned Companies be approved as amended. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. All in favor? Carried. And number two, that the Village of Valemount issue an advertisement to the public to solicit submissions of letters of interest from those who are interested in serving on the Board of Directors for Valemount Community Forest LP and Valemount Industrial Park LP, or both. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. Prior to, there was a couple of good points that I recall from the last meeting, Councillor Blanchette. You raised that you wanted to have a, eventual sit down, but that might not be a possibility for a while, to have more than 6 people in the room in a non-council meeting, but you wanted to have a council to board kind of discussion. I think that was a great idea. And also there was a point brought up that a lot of this is coming from a lot of this recommendations and wording is coming from our solicitors. So I would seek council support in having a presentation from our Lidstone and Company with council and the VCF Board of Directors, and have them kind of take any questions as to kind of the direction that these legal opinions will be taking us down. That will clear some air. I know during a pandemic, communication has been less than amicable, and I think for the board especially, I think it's imperative that we have that link and that communication back to order. You'll move the amendment. Seconder, Councillor G, with a friendly that the second recommendation be held off until we have that presentation. You're okay with that, Counselor?
Okay, say that again, please.
That we have a presentation from our solicitors to the Board of Directors and Council and hold off advertising to the public to solicit submissions until such time.
Well, what time are we planning, when is the time frame for when these new positions would be open? Like, when is this AGM? Because there's a bit of,
Be June. We'd be soliciting submissions until the AGM in June, Mr. Administrator?
Well, as the policy's written, we're to start soliciting 60 days in advance. And the reason for that is that we can then collect the, providing time for the public in order to put their letters of interest in. We can then collect them, provide them to the Valemount Community Forest, and then the Valemount Community Forest is able to vet them and then provide the recommendation to council, and then council would then be able to move it forward.
As per the shareholders agreement.
No, as per the, well, yes, as per the shareholder agreement, yes.
okay, so I'm not really clear then why we would have to wait, because I mean, we can have a Zoom meeting with our solicitors
It
anytime.
would probably take a couple of weeks to wrangle Mr. Purcell's, I'm guessing.
That'd be it.
I mean, we are trying to get a lawyer into a room.
Yeah, but we still have to do the 60 days ahead of time, so when is 60 days ahead of when the AGM is?
April 14th-ish.
Okay,
What's the second meeting in June?
So there's actually, it actually depends on how the Valemount Community Forest and the Valemount Industrial Park come back to council with their decision on the AGM. Council had submitted a letter, well, actually, I'd submitted a letter on behalf of council requesting that the meetings be held separately for each company, one on the first meeting of June, one on the second meeting of June. And at that time, we did not get a favorable response from the board. However, I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding what exactly was being asked for. So now that the company understands what's being asked for, I'm waiting to hear back from them whether or not they're willing to hold their meeting at that time.
they don't really have a choice on when the meeting has to be held due to our stuff, correct, or is that wrong?
Well, no, as per the shareholder agreement, they do have the ability to call the meeting at their leisure. However, there's some requirements within that agreement that they have to adhere to, and it has to do with when their audited annual statements are completed. It has to be done within the first 6 months of the year end. That's my understanding. So that would really be the latest that they would be able to hold the meetings, if it was during a council meeting.
Okay. I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't go through with the two recommendations and still set up a meeting where everybody's meeting, like everything, we're gonna have to do this, we're gonna have to have a meeting with everybody. You know, if we have an end date, then we can work from there and make sure everything's put into play by that end date.
Yeah. As we move from point A to point C, C will move depending on where B falls into the mix, on what date. Because now we're getting not only our solicitor to explain and take questions, but your schedules and the schedule of their board.
Okay, I guess I'm just having a brain thing.
It's gonna take some time. It's probably gonna take 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get these dates solidified, I
Okay.
would say, which still puts us in.
But we still have to send out the announcements to get people on board because it's got to be within this 60-day time frame. So why wouldn't we still go ahead with this? Because this is going to take time too, to get out, send out the ad, get the responses, have them sent to VCF, have them vet them, and then send them back to council. Can we not work everything concurrently?
I don't think we can. And the reason being is we're asking for public submissions before full awareness is being made to both this council for the reasons why and to their board.
Okay. Okay. So we will go ahead with item 1. We'll hold off on item 2. We'll set up the meeting for PDQ and then go ahead with item 2 after the meeting.
As PDQ
That's-
as we can after that,
Okay. Okay.
which will, I'm absolutely certain will still put us within the 60 days.
60 days, okay, yeah. We've got to make sure we're within, right, the boundaries that we've set, so,
We can do it.
okay.
There was a lot of discussion on amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment? I just have to find out where my bubble was. No further discussion, all in favor of the amendment? Carried. Back to the original motion as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's carried. We do have a notice of motion brought forward by Councillor Pearson. Mr. Administrator, just looking for some clarification on the legislative requirements. We do have a written notice of motion. He is absent. May I put it forward?
If you agree with this notice of motion, then there's no reason why you could move that forward on his behalf.
I do. So at this time, Council, I would seek your support to give a notice of motion that intends to bring forward at the next council meeting. Councillor Pearson brings forward a notice that council consider giving direction to staff to begin immediately preparing a report on the hiring of a full-time bylaw officer, including the potential funding sources, budget ramifications, and any potential options for council's consideration. Is there you don't need a seconder? Oh, that is the notice of motion. And I understand, Mr. Administrator, you've already embarked on this process?
That's correct. As discussed with council in a previous council meeting, that I would already start working on it. So this just set the wheels in motion a little bit quicker with Councillor Pearson bringing it forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Council reports. Councillor G.
Yeah, March 15th, I attended the public OCP meeting. I feel like there was something else, but I honestly can't remember, so that is my report.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
Mystery meeting.
It's, yeah, just, yeah.
Councillor McLean.
I had one meeting, it was a Zoom meeting with the Columbia Basin Treaty Negotiation Local Government Committee on March 11th, where we continue to, we were on strategies from the negotiating team, and we discussed committee priorities and direction for this year.
Still big with the Local Governments Committee.
It is.
Councillor Blanchette.
On the 15th, we had the OCP review. I think we're moving along quickly on that, and it's nice to have all of the public input. It's nice to see them showing up and having some really great ideas. Also on the 15th was the Robson Valley Mckenzie Regional Subcommittee meeting. Very, very interesting, moving forward with that. March 18th was the Housing Committee meeting and the Child and Youth Mental Health. And that's everything.
That's it.
I think so. I think I'm like Councillor G. I'm like, just a minute.
Got to be one more in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
March 15th, that had a PG RAC meeting. Later that day, joined Councillor Blanchette with the Mckenzie Robson Valley's Regional Subcommittee, really wrapping our heads around what budgets are available for FTEs and PTEs for several departments, both here at the Health Center, McBride, Mckenzie, throughout. March 15th, later that day, had a discussion with Councillor MacLean and Mr. Robson around the Forest Development Unit discussion with the SIMP Resources Group Forest Stewardship Plan. We did send a letter of support. March 16th, had a discussion with Mr. Rob Gay, Chair of the Regional District East Kootenay, and CBT staff around the Universal Broadband Fund and the Connecting BC funding that we all put our wallets towards. Lots of letters of support arising from that. Looking to meet with Parliamentary Secretary Rolly Russell, who's with Rural Development, and discuss part of his mandate, which is to develop high-speed connectivity in rural areas. So hoping to advance that very, very soon. March 17th, I had an advanced Columbia Basin Trust Housing Initiatives Chair meeting with CPT staff, looking at a April 9th initial meeting for this year. March 17th, again, had a VARTA board meeting. And then March 18th, all regional districts, so starting with Environment and Parks, the Regional Hospital District Board, and then open board for the regional district itself. On the 19th, had a meeting with the Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation Board of Directors, and then a prep meeting on the 22nd with Rob Gay. Actually, you might even know Gary Jackman, new member on CBRAC. He's from the Central Kootenays. And Karen Cathcart from Area A of the Columbia Shuswap. Again, just kind of wrapping our heads around the UBF, the Connecting BC, and how we're going to strategize with a meeting with Rural Development Parliamentary Secretary Rolly Russell. And then today had a great briefing with Valemount Emergency Services. That's me. Motion to receive. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion or questions of the council reports? All in favor of receipt? It's carried. Not heading in camera tonight, so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Oh, public comments. I'm so sorry. I didn't have my agenda right here in front of me. We do, Mr. Administrator, under 14.1, do we have public comments on items considered by council as part of the approved agenda?
Yes, we have 2 comments that were forwarded prior to the meeting. There are no comments over the internet, though. Would you like me to start?
Please.
Okay. First one is from Rashmi Narayan of Valemount, and her letter is, Dear Mayor, Council, and Staff, I read an article in a newspaper that Council and staff would be open to comments about the fine for using wood stoves in bad air quality conditions. I was relieved to read the CAO say that the maximum fine is for burning oil and plastic, but still have some questions/concerns. I live in a rental with a stove, which is EPA approved, so the wood stove exchange program would not apply to the stove. I do have electric heat, but since the house is an older construction, it takes wood heat to get it warm when the weather gets cold. During the week when the temperature dipped to -30 overnight, I kept the thermostat at 21 degrees Celsius overnight and still found the temperature to be 16 degrees in the house in the morning. I'm not sure if I could heat my place adequately without a wood stove in such conditions. The last 4 months I have faced an average hydro bill of $225 per month, even when using wood. I consider myself an environmentally conscious citizen who is concerned of how my actions impact my fellow citizens. I would definitely not want to contribute to bad air quality that would harm myself or others. I am also aware of what it takes to burn wood cleaner. However, I am not sure that this new bylaw is even enforceable, considering how many people are forced to rely on wood as a heat source, both due to the cost of hydro for heat as well as older buildings that have poor insulation. I understand that bylaw enforcement is often complaint-driven, and I am wondering what would be done when many homes are forced to use wood stoves in colder weather, and we have inversion conditions. P.S. On a different note, I was surprised the public comment section on council agenda was moved to the end after the council has made its decisions. In that case, public comments have no ability to provide additional information to council before a decision is made, and there is a less incentive for the public to engage with the municipal issues. And just so you know, I added that because we did pass an amendment on the procedure bylaw today. Not pass it, sorry, just gave third reading. The next comes from Tom Jamin, also of Valemount. Dear Mayor and Council, having read through the draft of bylaw 838/2021, I applaud and congratulate you on the work you have done to reduce wood smoke in our village. However, I would like to comment on point 5.1, which refers to a total ban on burning wood devices being used during air quality advisory. These advisories happen on the coldest nights of the year and during forest fires. Considering how many homes are heated by wood stoves in Valemount, I think this ban would be more harm and cause anger than any good. Perhaps the village citizens could have been forewarned. Are the village staff prepared to drive the streets of Valemount on a -30 night and knock door to door asking people to put out their stoves? That with the threat of a $50,000 fine for each night someone uses the wood-burning appliance, and the fact these advisories last for days, the village could literally confiscate someone's home to pay the fine. Perhaps a few citizens who were ordered to extinguish their wood stove may decide to take their vengeance out by making more smoke the rest of the winter. My home is heated by a wood stove. I light 2 hot fires a day. I do not bank the stove up with wood for the night so it can smolder away. All my firewood is cut, split, and stored in a covered wood shed a year before it is burnt. I think I try to keep emissions from my chimney to a minimum. Part 5.1 of the bylaw punishes all. Is this fair and productive? That's the end of the comments.
Motion to receive, Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette. Any? No, we won't have any discussion. Simply say that to the comments that there have been amendments made, and further amendments can be made down the road. This isn't, while it is set in slate now, we do have an eraser and we have the ability to make things better. Further, all in favor of receipt? It's carried. I will now call for adjournment. Councillor G. Thank you very much, Council.